Hello again, it's Matthew from Matthew North Music here today. Now, if you're a fan of the Beatles, right now is a really exciting time because we're not only going to be seeing a brand new 3-part, 6-hour documentary about the Beatles making the Let It Be album, but we also have a brand new deluxe box set coming out. So today's video, I'm going to be talking a little bit about the Let It Be album, why I love it, and we're going to unbox the new 5.0 LP box set, and we're also going to unbox the new book that's come out. So anyway, we're going to go back to 1969, January the 3rd, and the Beatles arrive at Twickenham Film Studios, which is a place I've visited many times because I used to have some good friends that lived right by there and I used to stay nearby a lot. And on this day, they started work on making what would become the Let It Be album. Most of you know the story, but it was going to be a TV special with a concert at some exotic location at the end. And you see them writing, recording and making this album. As it turned out at the time, it didn't quite work out the way they intended. And then they decided to retreat to Abbey Road, and they then made the Abbey Road album. However, Let It Be did get released, and its first release was actually a box set that is very similar to this, because this is my copy of the original Let It Be box set. Now, my copy, if you can see in the camera, doesn't look quite right, and I'll show you why in a minute. But anyway, it first came out as this box set. After the box set, it came out as the regular Let It Be album that most people bought. And then about 20 years ago, we then got this, Let It Be Naked. And this was Paul's take on the album by ripping out all the stuff Phil Spector did to the album and adding Don't Let Me Down to the track listing. And that came out. And when this came out, after Anthology, it was the start where they started to dig into all the various footage that they had of Let It Be, and so they recut, I think, the Get Back video and a couple of other bits around the time of this. And with what they did with this and what was on Anthology, it was very obvious that there was a lot more to what they filmed when they made Let It Be than what ended up in Michael Lindsay Hogg's film. And I was watching Let It Be again the other night, and it struck me, compared to the Peter Jackson clips that he's put online, being the thing he did just before Christmas, and then the brilliant new trailer that appeared online a couple of days ago. It's almost as if, this is just my opinion, but it's almost as if Michael Lindsay Hogg had a list of songs and he just pulled out film rushes to fit with those songs and just filled the gaps with anything he could think of, rather than actually watching all 52 hours or 51, 52 hours of material and making a story out of it. Because there's just so much that's been in these trailers that wasn't even looked at in the Let It Be film. So yeah, it's really exciting. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the albums and then we're going to start unboxing. This is my Let It Be box set, and it was put together because I didn't have the original box set as it stood. And if you look at the photos on the cover, they are the original photos from a Let It Be box set. But zooming close in, you can see they've just been stuck to a piece of cardboard. That's because I bought this set of photos from eBay, and somebody had taken an original Let It Be outer wrap, cut the photos out and sold them as a set of photographs. I did ask the seller if they still had the leftover bits of cardboard, but unfortunately they'd already thrown them away. Still, it did mean I had original photos to make an outer wrap, but this wasn't the first thing I bought. So let's open it up. I actually made the casing quite tight, so it's quite difficult to open. One thing you'll notice almost straight away is that the colours of the photographs are completely different on the box as they are to the album. The box has a green tinge to it, and it's almost like there was a printing fault. So the first thing I actually owned was a copy of the Let It Be album. Now this is an original album from the box set. It has the red Apple logo on the back sleeve. And inside I have the original vinyl LP. It's not in the best of condition, but it does play okay. But it is a 2U matrix on it, which is consistent with the original album. And I bought this album sometime in the 90s, and that was my only copy of Let It Be for a long time. Now, the second thing I bought was the Get Back book. Again, the photos on the book tally more with the outer cover than they do with the actual album. And the book is actually, my copy of the book's actually in very good condition. It doesn't, the pages aren't falling out like they do on lots of the books. And it is a lovely book. There's loads of great photos. The odd thing about the book is if you get towards the end, these photos here, these weren't taken during Let It Be, but they just added them in anyway. And there's a very nice photo, I think, at the end of the whole band. Yeah, that one. That's a nice picture as well. But yeah, these pictures of McCartney, I don't know when they were taken. It's rooftop pictures. But yeah, it's a really nice book. Now, I bought that book about 10 years ago, and I bought it on Amazon second hand for about £7. And I actually bought two of them because I thought if I buy two, one of them hopefully won't have the pages falling out. As it turned out, they were both okay. These are now selling for upwards of £100 because people have cottoned on to what they actually are rather than just being a book on the Beatles. Anyway, that's the book. Now, when I went to try and get a box for this set, I bought firstly the inner tray, which I bought from an eBay seller, and then I quickly realised it's actually just a piece of cardboard that's been scored out, admittedly in the correct shape. So I bought that and this inner tray. And once I'd bought that and I had these photos, I then got some card and I made the wraparound. And just for good measure, and I think it's inside here, yeah, I've also got an Italian reprint of the advertising sheet that was in some of the box sets. It wasn't in all of them. It was in some of the box sets. And it was also in other Apple products of the time. But I thought I'd get it anyway. And so that, with the LP and the book, that is how Let It Be was first released. And, you know, it does me. I mean, I don't really play this album anymore because I have another copy and I don't want to damage any of the packaging. But that's the original Let It Be box set. A few months after this was released, we then got a standard album release of Let It Be. And if we look at the cover of this one, you can see it's got a green Apple logo there. And the green Apple logo is more common for all the Apple releases because that was what was written on the label. My copy happens to have a stock EMI in a sleeve. I don't think that's original, just what happened came in. But again, the record is very similar to the box set record. It's a 2U on that side, and it's a 2U on that side, so it's cut from the same lacquers. Now, Matthew North, I hear you cry, what about the cassette? You love cassettes, you must have it on cassette. And the answer is yes, I do have it on cassette. This, however, isn't an original issue. This is a slightly later issue of it on cassette, though it does have a paper label. So it's got this like nice little paper label with the track listings on. And here's our inlay card. But you will notice something. And that is, if you look at the track listing, you'll see it's not in the order that the original album is, as was many releases on EMI on cassette, because they were trying to get the playing times to be as similar as possible on the side A to side B. And this means swapping some of the track orders. So, you know, you go from Two of Us straight into I Mean Mine and Not Dig a Pony. But, you know, small things. But it's a nice little cassette anyway. We then move into the 90s, or the late 90s, early 2000s, and we get Let It Be Naked. And Let It Be Naked is a completely different release because it's, for one thing, it's got a brand new cover. It's the start really of the deluxe Beatles albums, really, because you've got this nice booklet here with bits of text from the film and interviews and things. So yeah, it's a nice booklet. And you also got this rather, has to be said, slightly pointless single called Fly on the Wall. And this has just got very, very short segments of stuff from the film. It's like a taste of what was in it. And I think most of the audio on this was taken from the Nagra reels. And you got, you know, snippets of songs that were in the album, songs that came later. Because after all, Let It Be did bring us, it brought us what would become Jealous Guy, All Things Must Pass, Give Me Some Truth, the Paul McCartney song Teddy Boy off his first album. So, you know, it was a melting pot for lots of stuff. And of course the tracks that would end up on Abbey Road, like Something, Me Mr Mustard, I think was being worked on at the time. So yeah, it was, you know, a lot of material was being created in those 3 weeks, and this was what we thought would probably be the last thing they would do with the Let It Be material, would be Let It Be Naked. But now we've got something else. Well, this lump of a box turned up yesterday, and it's quite interesting because up until the day before, I had an estimated delivery date of the 5th of November, due to the fact that I hadn't paid for Amazon Prime delivery, or indeed paid for any delivery at all. I just took the economy free delivery. But then I got a message yesterday morning saying my package was out for delivery, and here it turned up. So the moral of this story is, if you're buying stuff from Amazon, just take the free delivery option, because 9 times out of 10 it'll turn up on the day anyway. Well, there we go. There's our prime quality packaging. Here's our book, The Beatles Get Back by the Beatles, with scan this code for bonus features. What they are, who knows, we'll have a look later. And there's a nice wrap around here with some info about the book, which is pretty good. And I'll just take this little flap off. And if we take the flap off, it reveals a photograph from Twickenham. Now, that's been the photograph that's been used for a lot of the advertising of the film in recent times. And it's not a bad picture. It's a nice enough picture, lots of colours in the background. And anyway, let's have a look inside. I must admit, I've never seen that picture until they started advertising. But we'll just have a flick through. Again, those pictures, they're definitely not from the original negatives. Or if they are, they've just been very badly graded. So inside we've got a photo there from Apple. History of the Get Back cover. A little bit of history of it, how it came to be. Yeah, so a lot of these images, like these for example, they will have been taken from the 16mm film prints. They weren't actually discrete photographs, which is okay. Right, you get a little bookmark there. I'm trying to sell you something. There's another photo from Twickenham. Paul playing through a nice big Fender bass stack. Yeah, there's some very nice photos in here. And a lot of these have been graded. So, you know, they are sharper than the ones in the original Get Back book. There's a flyer here for the box set and the book. I suspect that flyer will be in the vinyl box set as well. You'll notice some PA speakers here, because when they were recording Let It Be, they were recording it like they were doing a rehearsal. So they actually had their vocals going through a PA rather than using headphones or any other kind of monitoring. So quite unusual for the time, really. And we'll flick through. There's more nice photos, more stills. George and Billy there. And then we get up to the rooftop. So these are all stills that were from the film, because that scene where the policeman's going into Savile Row, that was actually in the original Let It Be film, of course. I mean, that's probably one of the most famous photos of Let It Be, is that one there. But yeah, I mean, the attention to detail is very good indeed. So yeah, it's a great book. It's a really nice book. And when I bought it, it was, I think the retail price was £40 and I ended up paying 29 for it. Oh, sorry, no, 26. Yeah, it's £26, which wasn't bad really. Interestingly, this book was in my local Waterstones last week, about 4 days before it was released. They actually had them for sale in there, so you could have got it a few days early if you wanted to pay full price, but I'm happy to wait and had it ordered anyway. So that's the book anyhow. One very important thing, it says made in Germany by Optimal Media. This means it's not made in the Czech Republic, where those very badly pressed George Harrison All Things Must Pass albums were pressed. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that this is going to be a far better product than the sorry state that the George Harrison box was in. Okay, let's open the box. And there we have the Beatles Let It Be box. The hype sticker on the front just gives some basic details about what's in it. Let It Be, 2 LPs of outtakes, jams and rehearsals and studio chat, plus the Glyn Johns 1969 mix of the Get Back album, and a Let It Be EP. And it says it's heavyweight vinyl and it's got a book. Right then, here's our book. This is a gloss finish book. Nice and shiny. There's our back photos, which they look pretty good actually. I'm going to compare them to the original. Yeah, I mean, if we look at that picture there and you look at Ringo's hair, you can see all the detail. Whereas if we go to our original 1970 album, it's just a mass of black. So the back photos are definitely much, much better than the front photos. I'm going to quickly flick through the book, but I think we are going to see some overlap. And we've got a lot of text there about the recordings, various photos. But yeah, I don't think there's going to be anything photographic-wise in this book of the sessions that isn't in the other book. But what it has got is things like photos of the tape boxes and notes and track by track letters and stuff. So even if you don't buy the Get Back book, there's plenty of information in this one. And yeah, it's really nicely done actually. It's really nicely printed. Fingers crossed that'll last better than the many people's original book. Now here's our Let It Be LP, the vinyl album. Now that's not good. Big crease here. Not happy about that. There's probably not a lot I can do about it, but it was obviously just shoved straight into the box like that. Yeah, straight away the back cover looks much better than the original. As I said, these pictures are much sharper. And let's have a look at the record. Nice polylined in the sleeve. There's our LP. I'm going to look at it. That's bang straight. You can already feel the quality of this is much better than the Harrison album. So yeah, I mean, they've reproduced the Apple label and it looks okay. So apart from the crease on the cover, that's pretty good. Another one of those flyers to sell the book or to sell the box set. Here's our Get Back. It's a shame really they didn't put some different photos on there, to be honest, because there's hundreds of photos from the session and they've just reproduced the same ones. Oh, but I see what they've done now. They just reversed it and put the front ones on the back. And then we got Twickenham, Apple, Rooftop, another Twickenham, another Apple, and 4 more individual portraits. Again, I'm just going to take one of these out and have a look. That's nice. They've made it look like an old Apple acetate. Apple custom recordings. Yeah, very nicely pressed. Let's look at it. Yeah, it's flat as anything. So I've got no qualms about this, and the record's immaculate. There's no scratches on it, like I had with my first copy of the Harrison box set, which, if you recall, had 3 albums scratched. And the second box, they were all warped. and the first one, Songs of the Walked. Here's our Get Back cover. This has been used, this photo, I don't know if this was originally going to be how the album sleeve was going to look. I'm guessing it probably was, but this has been used for countless bootlegs of the Get Back sessions. Glyn Johns actually did 2 mixes of Get Back. He did one in 1969 and one in 1970. This is the 1969 album. And it says there, 2021 artwork recreated, inspired by the original 1969 concept and draft of Work in Progress. So, yeah, would that have been as iconic as the Let It Be sleeve? No, I don't think it would. I think had this been used, it would be seen as a bit of a lash up. Although in a way, I do wonder if this might have inspired David Bowie when he did the Next Day album, when he recycled the Heroes cover. Who knows? Anyway, I still think that's an iconic photo, as is all the Beatles albums. And I mean, it would have bookended the story of the Beatles, but no, I think they were much better to stick to that. So there's our Get Back album anyway. Oh, interestingly, it's got a white inner sleeve this time. I guess because the cover's a lot brighter. And last but not least is this new thing called the Let It Be EP. Now, this has 2 of the Glyn Johns 1970s mixes on, which I have read online as being sourced from bootleg CDs that came out years ago rather than the original source tapes. So maybe those source tapes got nicked, I don't know. I have no idea, but I'll play it later. And then on this side, we've got a new mix of Don't Let Me Down and a new mix of Let It Be. And that begs one question. There's one song missing, and that is You Know My Name, Look Up the Number, because that, of course, was the B-side of the Let It Be single. And I'm very surprised they didn't put that on this. But then that wasn't recorded at the time of Let It Be. It was done earlier and then they finished it off later. One other bit of the Beatles story that I haven't mentioned is this book called Get Back, The Beatles Let It Be Disaster by Doug Solfe. Now, this book looks at all the Nagra recordings and they kind of try to text out the story. And just by its title, Let It Be Disaster, kind of sums up really the myth of why everyone thinks that Let It Be was a disaster. And now we've got this new documentary coming out. I think that will give us some balance on the whole thing. So whether this book stays relevant or not, because after all the Nagra reels that leaked, wasn't all of them. It was only 80 hours, I think, and there was something like 150 hours of audio. So if we add that to the pile, we can see there 50 years of Let It Be, from the original box set to the new box set via original album, Let It Be Naked, cassette, and now we even have a what might have been. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Obviously I can't play you any of the audio, but if you're watching this on anything that's connected to YouTube, which is what you're watching it on, then you'll be able to stream the album straight away. So anyway, hope you've enjoyed this little video, and please carry on liking and subscribing, and I'll see you on the next one.